Be back this evening, and I will bring this up real quick. I'm not sure if Alan's going to make it or not, so I may have to keep an eye on this myself. Glad to be back. I hope that everybody had a good week. Okay, that's a good way to do that. We've had some good discussions between the Zoom meetings and here in our fellowship, and I have enjoyed it very much. A lot of great thoughts from people since we started rediscussing the visions and the visitations. A lot of people are writing me, asking questions about, not so much about the visions and things, but exactly how it's relating to today. And a lot of it isn't even questions. They are just really great things they're saying about how they see some of the things that were said and how it is actually playing out today. So I'm enjoying it, and that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to help a lot of the new people that are coming in. I'm not talking about young people or old people. We're all eternal, but I'm talking about new people who are just now coming in, understanding things. They're just flooding in. I knew it would happen sooner or later. You can't have an understanding like this going out from so many hundreds of people across the earth. It's not just me, hundreds of people across the earth. You can have that going out and it not pick up sooner or later, the vibrations, everything and it's starting a lot now. And so that's why I've kind of gone back, done this so that they don't have to go back and try to find something from some years ago. If they want to understand the vision and the visitations, they just go back 3 or 4 fellowships and come through, and you'll understand what took place from 2002 through about 2007, and then in 2015. And tonight we're going to go to, we've completed the first 3 visitations and visions that were on 4/11/2002, 3/26/2003, and 1/6/2004. So it was April, March, and January. All of it spanned out over about a 2-year period. And we're going to go into the next couple. I titled this our Transformational Ascension by Vision. So when I'm looking at this, I'm not trying to tell a vision like I had this thing and y'all better listen. I'm telling it in a way that there's an actual transformation here, and we've all gone through it together. And so we completed the first 3. These were landmarks that were connected to the visitations and visions of William Branham in May 1960, when he went beyond the curtain of time, March 1963 at Sunset Mountain, and April 1964, the angelic visitation on the mountain. The angels went over Alaska and brought the Alaskan earthquake in Palm Sunday 64. These visitations were almost replicas all the way through. And so the same orbits took place in the heavens. The same angels that met in 60 met again. The move of the next generation, the Joshua and Caleb generation, the ministries of Moses, Elijah, and Noah, we went through that. And we're going to attempt finishing these 2 tonight. There's 2 more. And I may not get through them. if we don't, we'll come back next time and take a look at the rest of it. I do want to say, whenever you're meditating or in prayer, send your energy and love my way. I was having some trouble with my left eye, and nothing wrong with the eye. It was things happening around it in the eyelid and under the lid and things. I thought it was a sty. I went to a dermatologist, and right away they said, no, it's not a sty, it's a tumor. And the dermatologist said, look, I've seen thousands of these, and don't you worry. She said, I could tell you right now if it's cancerous. She said, it's not. You just need to get it out. It's going to continue to affect your eye and things if you don't. So I'm taking a cream and an antibiotic right now, putting the cream in my eye, using an antibiotic, and until April 4. And it's just an office operation. Go into the office, they'll remove it. It's up inside the eye, and as it goes back in there a little bit, they said it's a little bigger. You can see it if you get up close. You can see a little dot right there under my eyelid. But just be in prayer for me. I'm not worried about it at all. My faith has brought me through a whole lot worse than this, and we'll just take this and keep moving. Today, I had my mind on the transformational ascension, and I sat down and wrote this, and we're going to come back to this when we're done with the vision, but I wanted to read it because it means so much about the transformation. I wrote, when our mind becomes clear, so does our vision. As long as you're muddled in your mind, your vision is not going to be clear. And I'm not talking about eyeball vision. I'm talking about third eye vision and understanding. So our mind becomes clear, so does our vision. We have markers in life that move us to maturity. Markers being landmarks or whatever you want to call it. Posts in our life, anchors in our life. We have markers in life that move us to maturity. We have 4 life markers that move us to maturity with a clear mind. Number 1 is birth, your natural birth. Birth is the first marker of life, the growing realization that we are alive and others are with us. We are not alone. That first part of your life, that's what you're establishing. You're growing to the realization that you're here, you're not alone, there are others with you. And then the second marker is adolescence. And it's the second marker of life, growing into the awareness of particular gifts, talents, skills, things that you have in you to offer humanity, but you just haven't developed it yet. A lot of potential in the adolescent stages. And the development of our tools for character, compassion, empathy, all of these things, that's your adolescence age as you're learning those things. And then the third marker in life, inner vision, is the third marker in life. Skillful means sufficiently developed to assist humanity with our gifts, talents, and skills. So you begin to take those things that you saw, but they weren't developed yet, and you begin to use those things. We realize that is our purpose, is to give away what's ours. Just give it away. Let people nourish from it. Nourishing and sustaining humanity. Through this is how life flows. And then there's a fourth. The transformation is the fourth marker in life. A developed ability to transform those things in us that are inappropriate. When I put that out, I got a little writing right back real soon on Messenger, and they said, Oh, we transform a lot more things that are just those things that are inappropriate. We transform all of our characters, the ways we were, all of our doctrines, all of this. And I said, I agree with you 100%. That would be things that are inappropriate. All of those things, if you're holding on to something when you should be moving on, that's inappropriate.
That's right.
And so this transformation, you develop the ability to transform those things in us that are inappropriate and offer skills and methods to help family, community transform themselves also. We nourish harmonization through understanding of relationships and the force of our developed nature. So we take on an authority, and we see the 4 life markers in our life: birth, adolescence, intervision, and transformation. We see it in the growth of a child naturally as they're coming up. That whole birth process of figuring out you're not alone and so forth. It takes about 8 years for a child to come into that maturity to recognize a lot. And then the second part of that is the adolescence. To me, I know a lot of people think adolescence ends at a young age, but I think adolescence in a natural person normally lasts about 20 to 22 years. And that throws you up close to 30 years old when you move into inner vision. And so then the inner vision, I think, when I watch people, when I study myself, inner vision lasts about 20 years, and you're somewhere around 50, 51 years old when you begin to take on the idea of, I can transform myself, I can change myself, I can help others change, I can do all these things. So naturally, looking at it like that, but then let's go into something else. The question is, where are you at in these markers of life spiritually? In your spirituality, are you still in the birth process, trying to figure out that you're not alone? Some people are. Are you still in the adolescence stage where that you haven't developed the skills yet? The potential's there, but you just haven't developed the skills and the gifts and those things that you have. Are you in that inner vision stage where that you know who you are, you understand there are others, and you understand that you need to work with others and work with yourself and begin to change yourself? Are you in that transformation stage where that you can take a look inward, so inward that you find those things about yourself that are inappropriate? That maybe you're behind the time that you should be. Maybe you're doing some things that aren't helping in your processes to move you forward, and you're spiritual enough to take a good look at those and change what's inappropriate and also help others change. So the question is, where are you at in these markers of life, spiritually speaking? Another question is, where do you see the movement? Us, humanity, the earth, the universe. Where do you see the movement as a holistic transformation of us, all of us together? At what stage do you see humanity? So those are some questions you can talk to yourself about. If you feel like writing about it and want to talk to all those about it, feel free to. I personally, when I look at the movement, the holistic movement, I think that the Old Testament was the birth process. I think that the church ages was the adolescence process. And I think that we have moved into the depth of inner vision, and we still have a ways to go before we move into the whole concept of transformations. Of course, some of us as individuals, we're further along than that. But I'm talking about the whole process and the entire earth and all of humanity together. I think we have moved out of the adolescence stage. I think we're in inner vision, and we are developing our talents, our skills, our love, our compassion, our empathy, and we are developing how to move as one instead of moving as individuals. So I want to talk about our transformational ascension by vision. So we're going to attempt finishing the last two happenings that took place with us, the vision of transformation and the visitation of angels in the valley of decision. I hope this is a help to everyone to see that these things were not just myths. It's not something that I just talked about. They're really happening. It's happening in people's lives. And everything that is going on, I can constantly relate back to these visitations and visions and see that we are developing the way we said we would. Now, Romans 12:2, it says, "Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, so that you may prove what the will of God is, that which is good and acceptable and perfect." And I know where all of your minds go immediately when it says, "Do not be conformed to this world." You see, we're supposed to pull out of the world. We're not supposed to conform ourselves to the world. That's right. You're not supposed to conform yourself to the world. But look at his very next thing he said. But, in other words, you know what the word but means? Put away what you just read and do this. Do not be conformed to this world, but put that away and be transformed. Transformed to what? The world. That's what he's talking about. Have a transformation into the world, not conform. When you conform, you are taking what somebody wrote, what somebody said, what some group is trying to get you to do, what some religion is about. That's conforming. But you are to transform into this world by the renewing of your mind. Your mind is carnal, theophany, and those two work that third attribute to become a spiritual being. So renew the mind so that you may prove what the will of God is, or prove what the purpose of your life is, that which is good and acceptable and perfect. We are not conforming ourselves to this world of humanity. That is not the commission or the commandment from the Spirit in which is in us. We are to transform ourselves into humanity from theophany, renew the mind. The theophany had a lot of things in that section of the mind that humanity could not cope with and could not do. We didn't have the body to do it with. So therefore, we had to renew. We had to think it through. We had to begin to move in the correct processes and renew our mind to live with what we have in front of us, to live with it, to walk in it, to use it in the best way possible. So we transform ourselves into humanity from theophany. We are to have a renewing of the mind after the ages, or a change of mind. We're not to hold the carnality, so to speak, and the expectations of the theophany, so to speak, of the church ages. We're to renew, change, stop thinking of leaving the earth. Paul was very clear about that. William Branham was very clear about that. This is our place. We're going to stay here. Stop thinking of leaving the earth, leaving the cosmos, and renew your mind to understand this is our home, and adapt and accept and take on the processes. And our transformation is taking place right here. We're not transforming to leave and go somewhere else. We're transforming right here to be able to live right here without all of these inappropriate things in in this world. So Romans 12:2, if you rewrote it, don't try to subject yourself to the elements of this world, but become the world. I can subject myself to this. No, become it. Don't try to subject yourself to the elements of this world. That's what Paul is saying. But become this world through a complete transformation from theophany to humanity. Become the tree of life, acceptable and perfect in your attributes. So you're working with carnality. It will never go away. I don't care if you live to be 1 billion years old and you go through and hit the next life hundreds of years from now. I don't care. You're still going to pack carnality. It's going to be in you. It is a thing that is in you. It's always been in you. It's an attribute of the mind of Christ. It can't go away. And we're going to have that carnality. And we're going to have theophany. We're going to have that mind. And these two, we've got to learn how to accept and be what we need to be and conform ourselves to a new way of life that is beyond the theophany, and that is theophany and humanity together. Become the tree of life, acceptable and perfect in your attributes. This is a vision that the Lord gave to me. It certainly helps me to understand the transformation. The question was asked our prophet. You can go read it in questions and answers. It was asked a question, how will the rapture be? How will it happen? And Brother Branham's direct quote, straight back, it's just a change. That's pretty simple to me. It's just a change, that's all. Just a change. That's William Branham. Oh, but we're expecting all these, oh my, so much it's just a change. The rapture, the transformation, the translation, it's just a change. Get used to the change. This is the vision of transformation on May the 6th, 2005. I saw myself standing in a whiteout. You know what a whiteout is. A whiteout is a snowstorm where you cannot see anything around you. Out in places like Montana and Dakotas and places like that, they put ropes up in the winter, and they rope themselves from the house porch at the door to the barn because they'll get lost between the house and the barn in a whiteout, and you can die out there. So I was standing in a whiteout, and where you could not see anything around you because it is snowing so hard with blistering strong winds. It was like a blizzard. I can remember the vision like it's today. And I was wondering how I was going to get to a safe place before freezing to death in the storm. A man appeared in the snowstorm. Looked like a man. But he was very hard to see. He had a white animal fur on, like a coat, a covering, for a winter overcoat that went all the way to the ground. He had a pull-over hood and attached to the overcoat, and it was white with very thick white fur that protected his face. The fur just kind of covered his face. And the coat was made of animal skins, and it was all one garment from top to bottom, from head to foot. His hands and face were covered with a thick scarf and gloves of white fur, and I could only see his eyes and just a touch of his forehead. And I could see those deep crystal eyes. And that's what caught my attention. Otherwise, I'd have never seen him. But his eyes caught my attention. And I looked down at myself, wondering how he could see me. And I had on the same clothes that he had on when I looked at myself. And a lot like the vision last weekend when William Branham and I had on the same clothes. He looked piercingly toward me with an intense look. He motioned. I remember he took his, it was almost like he shoved his hand outside of that fur, and he motioned me to come to him. And he motioned me with his hand to follow him. He started to walk at a fast speed in an extreme blizzard. I mean, I couldn't keep up. I was trying to keep up with him. And I knew that I needed the coat that I was wearing. I knew I needed it at that time, but it was weighting me down, just totally weighting me down. I couldn't keep up. It was so heavy and burdensome and so weighted me down, but I knew I needed the coat under the present condition. In order to live, I knew I'd die if I didn't have it on. I was growing very tired, but everything that I had was needful. I knew that. So I kept pushing, a whole lot like we were. Think of all of the things that you have shed. All of the doctrines, all of the creeds, all of the dogmas, all of the religion, all of the rules and regulations that you set up for yourself, and we needed those at the time. But it was weighting us down so much. And I knew that I had to keep pushing forward in this vision. And it's all about us. I say I, but it's us. We were in this together. I pushed forward. I trudged. I kept pushing forward in a strong run to keep up with this person. All at once, I saw the body of this person. He was just ahead of me, maybe 4 or 5 feet. And all at once, I saw the body of this person begin to change. He shifted. He was on 2 legs, and he was moving. And all of a sudden, he shifted, and he went down onto 4 legs and transformed into a great white wolf. And he was lunging, just lunging 10 feet, just lunging and running, and there was no way for me to keep up. He shifted into that great white wolf and began moving at a higher speed. I was running hard, couldn't keep up, and I remember I was almost ready to faint. I was ready to just drop. And in my present condition, I was weighted down. I couldn't keep up, and I knew I was being left behind. I watched the white wolf leave me in the storm. I cried out in desperation, "Help me. I can't keep up in my present condition." How many of you had that cry? Help! I can't keep up in our present condition. This is not me. This is killing me. This is weighting me down. Paul cried out and said, "Lay aside the sin that so easily besets you." When you keep things on you that are inappropriate, you're missing the mark. That's sin. And when you keep those things on you that are inappropriate, it weights you down. He screamed out and said, "Let us run." And so I was at that point. I was screaming, I can't keep up in this condition. And a voice spoke to me as I was slowing down my pace due to exhaustion. I remember it. The voice said, "Didn't change." It was just so simple. The voice, it wasn't a thunder out of the sky that screamed, and it wasn't lightning that struck me or any of those things. It was just a simple voice that said, "Didn't change." Same thing William Branham said. How are we going to do this rapture? How are we going to fly out of our shoes? How are we going to go here? How are we going to go there? What's this rapture going to be about? I can't keep up. I don't know how to do it. I need a prophet. I need this. I need that. If you feel that way and you're dying and you're slowing down, just change. Very simple. Then I began to run out of my coat. I was doing what the voice told me to do. Just change. I began to run out of that coat, the hood, the clothes, the coat. It all was going off of me. I thought I needed it in order to live, and I did at the time. But you don't anymore. You don't need all of those things that you were packing during your adolescence age. So here we are. I began to run out of my coat, the heavy clothes. I thought I needed them, but they were dropping off of me as I was running in exhaustion and desperation to keep up with the great white wolf. As I was running in the storm, my body started transforming. I felt it, and it shifted into the same white wolf that he was in front of me. And we were running at a very high speed. I can remember how, you know how when you're wide open running, those animals, you watch them and they're lunging. You know, I've seen deer run so hard, they jump fences that are 10 foot tall. They just go right over them. And so that's the way it felt. You were just really lunging, going forward at a high speed. And I regained my strength when I got rid of all that. My tiredness left me. And I was running with the great white wolf, leaving the storm. I was keeping up. That's the way we felt when we came out, when we first broke loose, when we got out of the whole concept of church ages and birth and adolescence and processes and devils and gods and everything else and demons. We got out of all that. And we ran, and I was running with the great white wolf, leaving the storm. I was keeping up, but that was only for a short period of time. And as I ran with the wolf, his body started transforming again. I was watching him. Omega age. You know how great it made you feel when you pulled out of those church ages? It felt so good. You changed your clothes, spiritually speaking. You'd done all those things. You got rid of all your rules and regulations. You moved forward. You got out of all of that church system and felt so good. But that was only for a short period of time. As I ran with the great white wolf, his body started transforming, and it was changing again. I saw his legs go into two and form claws. I was watching him as I was running behind him. As wings came out on his back, and he transformed into a great white eagle in the midst of this storm. So listen to me. We all feel this way. I know we do. Just about the time that you think you're going to get satisfied in something and settle down in something, it's going to change. That's the rapture. That's the translation. That's the transformation. Change. And when we settle down into something, you get everything you can out of it, but look forward to this one thing. You're going somewhere else. You are going to change. So don't come to a point that you think, whew, I'm finished with that. No, you just started. We just now got into this age. We just pulled out of the whole birth process, adolescence process. We moved into the inner vision. And so I was running behind him as a white wolf. He spread his wings. He soared into the heavens, leaving me so quickly. And I thought, oh no, this is it. I'll never make this. He's gone now. I'll never be able to do what he's doing. I heard the same voice again, and it said, then change. You know, we get too many things in our head about why we can't do something. We get too many things in our head about our obstacles, about our ups and downs, about all the rejections we've had, about all the hurt that has taken place, about our exes, we just get all kinds of things in our head, and we think we're not good enough. I'll never be able to make this change. When the Spirit is changing, when this man changed, I changed with the Spirit. When the wolf changed, I changed with the Spirit. It's what we do. That's you and I. That's not just me. That's you and I. That's all of us. That's who we are. And when the Spirit is making a change, stop worrying about, can I do this or not? You're going to do it. You're just going to do it. It's going to happen. You're going to make the change. Now, you can make the change through difficulty, or you can make it through ease. It's just left up to you. I've often said, you can be chauffeured in the back seat of a car and take you anywhere you want to go and enjoy the ride, or you can be tied to the bumper. But you're going. That's just all there is to it. They'll drag you through every mud hole. It'll tear the skin off your body. You'll be naked time you get there and everything else. But you're going to go one way or another. So just say to yourself, I'll change with the Spirit as it changes. As the transformation takes place, I'll change with it. So this change, it happened with the man, it happened with the wolf, and now I didn't take my eye off of him. My body was transforming, and my front legs swung back, becoming wings, and my head narrowed down. I felt it happening to me, shifting forward, changing into a white eagle. The speed was tremendous, breaking the barrier of the storm. Broke through the barriers, all kinds of veils and barriers. The speed was tremendous, breaking the barrier of the storm, and I became a white eagle. I remember, plain as anything, as we were flying. It was us. We had come from the change of being lost in the storm, running with the wolf, flying with the eagle, broke the storm, got out of all of those barriers and everything else. And as I was watching, the speed was tremendous. I watched the great white eagle, and he began to turn, and he set himself right into the sun. I'll never forget it. It was so bright. It was blinding. And I watched him. He set himself and began to fly into the sun, setting his eyes straight into the sun. He was looking right at the sun. He started flying with extreme velocity, way beyond anything I had ever felt. I thought to myself, this will blind me. I'll never be able to get up to what he's doing. My eyes can't look directly into that sun. The great white eagle screamed with the same voice that I was hearing. And he said, you are changed. Look directly into the sun and fly. Well, I remember when he told me, you are changed. I remember when I was watching in the vision, I remember my mind going back to William Branham in 2002 saying to us that you now wear the body. You are already changed. We have made the change. The great white eagle screamed that out. You are changed. Look directly into the sun and fly. It wasn't a matter of can I change anymore. The voice said change. The voice said change. But we entered into a place now where the voice is saying you are already changed. We've already, the universal change, the universal soul change, all of those things have already happened, and we are in a position now that when we get to where we think we're having a difficult time, there's a voice in you that speaks out and says, you're already changed. Just fly. Just take off. Fly. I turned my eyes and body toward the sun. And the eagle said, only eagles can come out here. And I turned my eyes and body toward the sun and began to fly directly into the sun. I couldn't see anything. Only the sun. Nothing else was in my eyes. Nothing else was in my mind. Only the sun. And I felt my flight gaining speed. I was going faster and faster and faster into the sun. I came out of the vision. I saw myself as I was flying. I flew right into, that eagle was ahead of me, and I flew right into that body. And it's like we were flying as one. There wasn't two of us anymore. There was one of us. And I came out of that vision screaming, I want to go home. I want to go home. I want to go home. That's where we're at. We made it home. And we're no longer flying in duality. We're flying as one. We're no longer trying to catch up with ourselves. We are ourselves now. That's who we are. So I seen this vision, and it helped me to understand that we can change in every possible way that we need to. And then by the end of the vision, it helped me to understand exactly the way I'd seen in 2002. We are already changed. And it's just a matter of setting your eye, that third eye, just set that eye and fly into that body that you're trying to keep up with. Stop your duality process. Become one. This visitation opened my eyes up a lot to oneness as we were moving forward. Then I had another visitation about 10 years later. The visitation was March the 8th, 2015. It was the Valley of Decision, the Valley of Four Angels, the Valley of Fire, the Field of Fire, whatever. I've called it many different things. I was looking out my bay window where I used to live on Hyde Road. I was looking out my bay window of my house, and it was West Hyde Road. If that means anything to you, it certainly does to me. We went as far west as we could go with all the hidden secrets that we could do, and it was time to change. I was looking out the bay window of my house, West Hyde Road, watching between the two Native American statues that I had placed on my front porch. I saw the front yard area change. It was, I think, around 2 in the morning. I saw the front yard area change, and it was a fiery frequency of flames. And in the midst of it were 4 men, 4 angels, walking in the frequency of what looked to be fire. At first, I didn't realize it was a vision, and I was wondering what in the world I was looking at. And then very quickly I knew what was happening. As I looked, I realized it was a field of fire, a dimensional frequency that had the color of fire. They were walking toward me, and quickly I was in the field of fire with them. I entered a frequency within my mind open to spiritual evolution. So I seen the fire in the visitation, in the vision, but then I stepped into the vision. It was almost like 2 things were happening. I was watching it like a picture show in front of me or a TV, and then it's like I stepped into it. And the frequency of fire, the angels, the messengers, those men, they were real. And the frequency was real all around me, dimensional. And I knew that I wasn't just having a vision. I had entered into this place that had come to me. As I looked, I realized it was a field of fire. They were walking toward me. And quickly I was in the field of fire with them. I entered a frequency within my mind open to spiritual evolution. Those 4 men were fiery looking and walking around me. I remember they were just moving around me, almost like what we would call milling around. But they had a synchronicity to them that was just amazing. And the 4 were looking and walking around me. It was like we were all in the fire together, but weren't consumed by it. The angels had a movement about them that was very swift. I mean, have you ever had something in your hand? I forget what they call it, warble or something, and you're spinning that around and around. Vroom, vroom, vroom. That's what was going on. I could hear them, their movement, so swift, so synchronized, perfect. The movement about them was very swift, almost like it was synchronized. Every movement was what I would call circular. I was sure that I knew them as I watched them. I'm sure of this. I'm even more sure now as I look back across things and I look at what's been happening. One was William Branham, and another was my angel, the one who has come to me with the hood and things most of my life since a young boy. As always, my angel had a smock on with a hood about his neck and up on his head. Each one of them walked around me, moved around me back and forth, moving swift at times, and then they'd come to a halt, and I'd get a good look at them, and I knew who they were. Then they would move in almost a blur. Somehow I knew the other two. I knew it was Jesus and Paul. There was William Branham, my angel, Jesus, and Paul. You might say that you have never heard of four angels. Brother Parnell, nowhere in the scripture does four angels ever come to anybody. You know, it was three angels to William Branham. It was seven angels to William Branham, three angels to Abraham, on and on and on. We don't read anywhere about four angels. Well, you just haven't read enough. Let your wall go down for just a minute. You might say you've never heard of four angels. It was seven to John and William Branham. And other times it was one angel bringing a message to a prophet. Other times it was three angels. Brother Parnell, but I just have a hard time with this because you said it was four. Well, I know who they were. Let's look at Ezekiel 1 and 3. The word of the Lord came expressly to Ezekiel, the priest, son of Buza, in the land of the Chaldeans, by the river Chebar. And here and there the hand of the Lord was upon him. As I looked, behold, a storm, a wind was coming forth from the north. A great cloud with fire flashing forth continually, and a bright light round it. And in the midst something like glowing metal, and it was like they were in the midst of fire. Okay, it's getting close. And within it there were four figures resembling living beings, and this was their appearance. They had a human form. So now we know four angels appeared before in a field of fire to show a prophet something that was going on. Now let's go over to the book of Revelations. Out from the throne come flashes of lightning and sounds and peals of thunder, and there were seven lamps of fire burning before the throne, which are the seven spirits of God. And before the throne there was something like a sea of glass, like crystal, and in the center and around the throne were four living creatures, four angels, full of eyes in the front and behind. Ezekiel saw four faces. John saw four angels. Ezekiel saw four angels in the midst of a fire. Daniel. Then the king was astounded and stood up in haste. And he said to his high officials, was it not three men we cast bound into the midst of the fire? They replied to the king, certainly, O king. And he said, look, I see four angels loosed and walking about in the midst of the fire without harm. And the appearance of the fourth is like unto the Son of God. There's fours everywhere. The angels would walk among themselves. And then at times they would talk to me. And I was watching them. I was right in the midst. I seen their faces. I seen their bodies. They looked human. I seen the fire all around us. The angels would talk among themselves and then talk to me. One would pull away from their synchronized movement and pass by me swiftly, going and coming. And as they passed, they would say things to me, moving across from one side of me, back on the other side. It was like, they were just moving back and forth. One said to me, "Don't be afraid of the walk you're taking, as it is a holy walk." Well, for me, I never thought of myself as holy in my entire life. So immediately my mind, I thought, holy walk. And I asked, "What walk are you talking about?" My angel went swiftly by and passed me on my right side. He said, "Most men fail right here where you're at, because they are afraid to walk out into the unknown where these fires are. Don't back away now. Brother Parnell, you've just stepped into the ground where the children have needed to be for years." So the walk that we're walking was out of the old things into the new things, into the unknown things. He says it very clearly. I said, "What walk?" He said it was a holy walk. And he said, stepping into the unknown, going after the things that are of darkness and bringing them to light. Unknown just means darkness. And bringing them to the known, or revealing, or maybe you could say we are the apocalypse. We are the apocalypse. We are unveiling everything. We're walking into the unknown, and we're lifting the veil back. Somebody put something out and said this is the apocalypse, and the veil must be lifted back. Don't stop now. Just hold on to one another closer and keep pulling. That's what this is all about. The veils are being lifted. We're stepping into the unknown. Don't back away now. You've just stepped into the ground where the children needed to be for years. Here we are. We're at home. We're on the farm. We're in the ground where we needed to be. These 4 angels brought us here to this understanding. One of the things I realized since that time is that we had to get rid of our God. I know that sounds horrible to some people. We had to get rid of our God. A God is just an object of worship. A God is anything you put in front of you that you are going to revere in such a manner that you worship it. Whether it's a man, a woman, a statue, a book. You know, the Bible is probably the biggest God in the world. People just worship it. But anyway, I knew that it was time that we remove all these gods from us. That we don't need an object of worship once we've come out of mediation and intercessory, propitiation. The blood's finished its work. We're standing in our proper positions. We have moved into an angelic age. We just don't need a God. We know who we are. And we know that the Spirit is that one thing that is eternal, and all these gods, they disappear. These 4 men, these William Branham, Paul, Jesus, and my angel, those were my gods. I worshipped William Branham. Everything he said. If I couldn't read it and quote from where it was from and say William Branham said it, then it didn't mean much to me. He was my God. Oh, and if I couldn't read where Paul and William Branham agreed, if I couldn't see where Paul wrote it, Paul was our God. And Jesus was our God. Jesus didn't want that. He wanted us to see what he could do and then put it in us so we could have the faith to do the same things. So that we could have the faith to even do greater works. But we took a man, hung him on Calvary, and made a God out of him. Just made Any God, you know what a God is? It's a substitute. Anytime that you are worshiping something, you are substituting something in place of the spirit that you are. That's what you're doing. And I knew that William Branham was a God to me. Paul was a God to me. Jesus was a God to me. And my angel, I had gotten to the point, those were the four things that a Tory, Don Parnell, had to change in his life. I had to change. If I wanted to rapture, if I wanted to translate, Einstein said, in the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Worshiping this man, this man, this man, and this angel, and expecting different results. And I'd done it from the time that I was a little boy sitting on my mama's lap up until 2014. I'd done it. Those men were it. And that angel that kept showing himself to me, that was it. If I didn't get it from them, couldn't nobody tell me. And as they passed, they would speak to me, and I knew that I had to, and you'll see here in just a moment, I knew that I had to get those gods out of my mind. I didn't have to put Paul away. I didn't have to put William Branham away or Jesus or my angel. But I had to change my mind and renew my mind as to what these men were to me. That they were men who were moved on by the Holy Ghost and had great frequencies and understanding that would help me move further. But I had to go into not an adolescence stage, which is where we was at, but I had to move into the inner vision and start looking in here and start looking at what I needed to do to remove all of these gods. He said, don't be afraid of the walk you're taking, as it is a holy walk. Then William Branham came by me. I said, what walk? He said, into the unknown. William Branham came by me moving very fast. I remember him playing. He come through. He stopped for just a second. He was standing there. It was him as sure as anything. And he said to me, why do you worry about me and think that you have to check everything with me? That's what he said, plain as anything. What were these angels doing to Don Parnell, to a Tory? They were changing his mind about his God. They were changing my mind and taking me into a doing away with gods, and now moving into a fellowship, moving into a partnership, moving into a relationship, not a God, not a worship, just enjoying one another. I enjoy William Branham. I enjoy Paul's writings, because now I can look at it and take what Paul wrote or William Branham said, and I can take those and I can interpret and translate them over into my day, because they ain't my God. And I may find where I need to lay down some of those things. And I may find where that what they said ain't quite as good as what we're saying. That's fine. That's fine. We're in a fellowship. We're in a partnership. We're in a relationship. And sometimes my wife's right and I listen. And sometimes I'm right and she listens. It doesn't break up the relationship. That doesn't make us go separate ways. It actually builds the relationship. So he said to me, why do you worry about me and think that you have to check everything with me? You've moved beyond doing that, Brother Parnell, and you need to give your message to the people. This was March of 2015. We had just started breaking into things, deep things, around 14. All the way back into 10, I was seeing things. But now, the orbits had changed. The Grand Cardinal Cross had come on the scene. I'd been to New Zealand. The universal change had taken place. I went to the Philippines. We broke out of the Third Testament. And that's when all of this was happening. And he said, you've moved beyond doing that. Stop doing it. Go minister your message to the people. You move beyond that. You need to give your message to the people. You hinder yourself worrying about my message when it was for a different time and a different day. That's what he said to me. He said, Brother Parnell, you're talking about my absolute. Well, just change. That's all I know to tell you. Just change. One of them said to another, they were talking to one another, after all that he has been through, and he's still afraid. And I was afraid in that field of fire, watching, looking, wondering where in the world they were trying to tell me to go. They said, he's still afraid. And one of them said, when do they ever get past that fear? Another one said, well, did you? They were talking back and forth one another just like we do. Did you ever get past your fear? No, none of us do. We hold fear within us. We need to know how to cope with that inappropriateness and use it and make it a tool. My angel said to me, why do you want me to lower my hood? I'd never ask him to lower his hood. He knew my desire. Every time I seen him, from a boy up, I always thought, I wish he'd move his hood. But I never said it. He said, why do you always want me to remove my hood? Every time I come to you, it's in your mind for me to remove my hood. If I show you my face, then you won't allow yourself to continue. You won't allow yourself to continue transformation. He then said, when a person's mind can't find rest, it becomes a field where demons are created. You want to know where demons are created? When you take on a bunch of gods, worshiping them, and you can't find any rest unless you're worshiping some man, some preacher, some god, something. You got to worship it instead of turning inward. And that's what he said to me. If I show you my face, then you won't allow yourself to continue your transformation. It was me. I was transforming. And he said, when a person's mind can't rest and can't find rest, it becomes a field where demons are created. He said, and in this same field, life and death, in this same field, this valley of decision where you now stand, is where angels become holy angels, stepping into the unknown to bring things to light for humanity. That's real. When we come into that field of decision, when we come into that place we're at right now, where that we are breaking out so many unknowns and doing the things that we're doing, you're angelic, and you'll build one of two things. You'll build yourself into that holistic nature of holiness, real true holiness. Not talking about rules and regulations, but real true holiness, empathy, compassion, love, all of these things. You'll build yourself into that, or you will become a person that's being controlled by demons, that's being controlled by worship, that's being controlled by rule, regulations, and everything else. William Branham and those three angels kept saying, you've got to move on. I can remember hearing that at least a dozen times. You've got to move on. Don't get caught here. Back there in 2014 and 15, when people, and I love them all, but when people were leaving me everywhere, in my own church, all around the world, saying all kinds of remarks, but I knew that there was a people that if I stood the test, stayed right there, done away with my idol worship, moved those four men into a different category of partnership and not gods and everything else, no absolutes. If you've got an absolute, you've got a God. It's just that plain. You've got a substitute if your absolute's outside of yourself. You've got to move on. Don't get caught here. In this field is where good men die. Many good men have died here because they couldn't get outside of the rules, regulations, religion, dogma, creed, outside of worshiping a man or a messenger or everything else. Many good men have died right here at this junction of discovering themselves. Men and women, get afraid when you start discovering yourself. Because you know what you're going to find? You're going to find some pretty dark spots. And you're going to say to yourself, that ain't me. And you're going to have to hunker down just a little bit and say, yes, that is me. And I need to move into transformation. And I need to begin to transform these inappropriate things about me. These dogmas, these doctrines, these ideas of church age, these men worshipers, these church systems. I need to move outside of those. If you step into that field and look a good look at yourself, overcome your fears, it's a great place for you to be. My angel was moving around. He said, don't get caught here. In this field is where good men die. Many good men have died right here at this junction of discovering themselves. My angel was moving around them, talking. It was very hard for me to hear what they were saying because they were synchronized and moving so fast. But I heard my angel said, I remember, I can hear it plainly. He said, let him rest. His body can't take too much more right now. And I couldn't have. I'm telling you, I was at a break point at that time. No man's body can take this place of decision for very long. I will get him through. That was me. That was my spirit. That was my angel. That was you. That was your spirit and your angel. And look at what we came through. Look at where we're at today. Did he get us through? Yes. Exactly like he said he would. We have moved into a completely different field. The angels said, he is responsible for numerous changes. Does he understand that? I could hear them. They were talking. I was just standing there in that field. Fire all around me. He's responsible for numerous changes. Does he understand that? My angel looked right at me and he said, I will not leave you or forsake you. He spoke to every one of you. Every single one of you. We were all there together. I will not leave you nor forsake you. And you wonder why I didn't accept prophecies that came up about me from places like the Carolinas and Ohio and all these different places, saying all the horrible things that are going to happen to me, when all I could hear was this angel's voice, I will not leave you nor forsake you. And look at us, every one of us, he brought us through. I will not leave you, but I will lead you and guide you. Listen well, because you're standing in a field of great victory and sad defeats. I'm going to tell you now, if I still had that place where I was at, that would have been a sad defeat. I made my mind up, and you did too. We're moving on. One of the saddest defeats in my life is if I would have cowed down to the things that were going on there. And it would have been a sad defeat, and we would not be where we're at today. The successes and the failures in this place are innumerable. That was the angel telling about us. Just all those valleys of decision. Go all the way back and look at all of the prophets and look at all the movements and all the testaments and all the alphas and the omegas and look at all of it. And we see this place of decision to move on, to make a total change. Successes and failures in this place are innumerable. One of the angels said, while he is in this field of choices, is he capable of making the needed choices to accommodate the move that is needed? Does he know how great this is? My angel said, I'm just listening to him. My angel said, he's already made those choices. You remember? He said, your body's already changed. The eagle screamed, you've already been changed. William Branham said, you're already wearing a body. And my angel confirms it here in this vision, in this visitation, a vision and turned into a visitation. He confirmed it clearly. He's already made those choices. Time and time again he has done it. And there's no question that he will continue to listen to me. He turned to me and said, there are so many that are connected to the decisions you make. And we are. And you in Canada, there are so many connected to the decisions you make. You in Philippines, so many connected to the decisions you make. Hundreds of you, South America listening, all these different places, United States. We've got them from Switzerland, listen. We've got them from Ghana. We've got them from Africa. Hundreds and hundreds of you. And listen to me. You are it. And you are making the moves. And the successes and the failures are all around us. And we have choices. And we understand that we are breaking veils. My angel said he's already done it. Do you understand? There are so many connected to the decisions you make. Are you ready to make those moves? Direct question. Are you ready to make those moves? I said to him, yes. I understand my commission. One of the angels spoke out. And he said, how will you do it? I said, there's only one way you can do it, by faith. There isn't any other way. And I will do it. And that's all of us. When I say I, that's all of us. We're making this move by faith. There isn't any other way, and I'll do it. And he said, that's all I needed to hear. You will move forward. Have we? Oh, there's a lot of people out there who would say we haven't. But how do you feel? How do you feel? We know that we moved into the unknown, and that can get pretty hairy for a while, I guess the best way to put it. It can really get to you. But look at how the vision is clearing up and clearing up and clearing up. And everything is becoming clearer and clearer all the time. I know what was happening. I didn't understand a lot of it then. But I am sure of it. These 4 angels were angels that dealt with prophets throughout history. And I'm just shaking and wondering why one of them was me. And then, now, It doesn't bother me too much. Because now I know why one of them was me. I am a representative of the age. It wasn't necessarily me, personally. It was us. And it's easy to prove that we dealt with great moves and prophets. It's all through the scripture. John saw us. He said, who are these people? These people arrayed in white robes. Who are these people that every time something comes up, they're shouting the victory? John couldn't understand who they were. He kept asking the question. John saw us. We lifted the spear to Jesus. The scripture says very clearly when Jesus was in Gethsemane, angels came to him. We're in the angelic age. We are the very angels. We have the very angelic nature. And we went there into the Garden of Gethsemane and helped Jesus make his decision to go forward and encouraged him to go forward and walk into the unknown exactly the way they are encouraging you and I to go forward and walk into the unknown now. We were there helping them, and they are here helping us. And there were many other places. I could just keep going back through the scriptures and showing you where these angels showed up. William Branham went and seen the 7 angels, the 7 messengers, but he said there was a group of angels in that cloud that I knew I needed to go and see. And he did. And we helped him. When he came back, his message, his whole message entirely changed from meeting up with us. Many other places we were there to work with the movement. So where do you see us now? Do you see us still in the church ages? Still wrestling around with the birth process? Do you see us in an adolescence? Knowing potentially we have skills and talents and gifts and all these things, but we don't know how to use them. We don't know how to move forward with them. Do you see us in the inner vision, where that we have developed these skills and we have begun to move forward and we have begun to give ourselves to humanity? Do you see us all the way out in the transformation? Out there where, well, you read it. You know what it said. The 4th marker of life, a developed ability to perform those things in us that are inappropriate, to transform those things in us that are inappropriate, and offer skills and methods to help families, communities transform themselves too. We nourish harmonization through understanding of relationships and the force of our developed nature. Where do we see ourselves? I am sure that different realms of people in this earth are in different stages of that transformation. But I'm talking about our movement, which is moving across the earth, and it's taking in and it's engulfing in all of humanity, the earth, the universe, all those frequencies, everything. Where do you see us? Are we still wrestling around in our adolescent age, trying to promote one another and who's got the best gift and who's got this and that and who's come up with the greatest books and who has the doctrines that'll get us through? And are we doing that stuff? I think we're beyond that. We're at that transformation stage. We're in the inner vision stage. That 3rd marker of life. We're skillful. We're sufficiently developed to assist humanity with our gifts and talents and things that we have. We're not glorifying ourselves in these things anymore. the way we used to. We realize that it is our purpose to give away what is ours. We are definitely in the inner vision. I think, this is my personal opinion, I think that the transformation, the fourth marker in life, I personally think that, yes, we are into some of it, but there's a lot to come yet that'll push us all the way out into the Capricorn age, where that we will begin to practice and transform and live these skills every day in our life without any condemnation, without any worry about sin and missing the mark. We will carry our carnality. That's one thing I think we all have trouble with, is we think we got to get rid of our carnality. You don't get rid of that's an attribute in your mind. You're going to use it. You're going to need it. You're going to need it 1,000,000 years from now. You're going to need it 1,000,000,000,000 years from now. If you want to measure stuff, you're going to need your carnality. Carnality is the enemy of God. And we all got these gods we need to get rid of. So what's going to get rid of them? Carnality. Recognizing that, hey, there's not something out there that's pushing me and condemning me and making me look bad and telling me I'm full of sin and condemnation and filth, and it's not out there. I have reasoned in my carnality and in my theophany attribute, and I've come to a spiritual mind that says, it's just me. And me is all of us. And we have gone past the adolescence, the intermission, the blood, the mediation, the intercessory. We've gone past all that. We've come all the way out. We're into inner vision and transformation now. So not all of us, Brother Parnell, they're out there, and yes, they are. They're out there, and they are still in the adolescence and the birth processes. But somebody has to break these frequencies out into the earth to help them come out of those things the way you came out. So we see this going on all around us. That was the 5 visions and visitations that brought me to sitting right here at this table, saying the things that I'm saying. And you, wherever you're at, on here, whatever, it's brought you to where you're at. Not because Don Parnell said it and therefore we followed him. No, it's a transformation. And it moved into the frequencies. And that frequency you already had in you, and you picked it up. And it was your season and your time. And you began to open up all of those things inside you. Not inside Don Parnell. Your intellect is not worshiping me. I hope not. But it's turning you inward into your inner vision. Leaving behind your adolescence. That's what this is all about. I love you. And I will put out an announcement when our next session is. And, I'm not going to have any rigid, this is it, 7 p.m. on Sunday or 10:30 on Sunday morning. I'm not going to do that anymore. I'll just be sure and announce, give you time so you know. And I will begin to do some podcasts on subjects, very simple subjects that, I say very simple, subjects that we view as very simple today. Things like gods and devils and demons and worship and just on and on and on, rules, regulations, creeds, dogmas, doctrines. And I'll put out many podcasts, 15, 20 minutes long, just showing that all those things are over, and then going into oneness in the spirit, and just going into inclusiveness and tolerance and acceptance and just we'll take a little subject and just put it out there. I'll put it on a website. I'll put it on Facebook, and you can enjoy those. But I will have these fellowships. I just don't want to have a set time for them. I'll let you know ahead of time. Love bless. I hope it's been a great thing for you to understand this. I know it has been for me. Reach in to that inner vision, to that transformation. You'll find your healing. You'll find all of your gifts. You'll find you can use it for others, and you can use it for yourself. You'll find your tools. You'll find that it's no longer potential. You're not into potentiality anymore. We are the real thing. It's really happening all around us. Love bless.